when I came down to Roban, like say 8, 9 years ago, I came down. I was a broken man. My family in Headland, because I was born in Headland. My family in Headland, I love my family dearly, but they can't help me. They couldn't help me, so I had to leave there, and I came to Roban, and I met a. Well, I knew a couple of blokes, you know, Vincent Adams and Paul Aubrey. They gave me a go. They gave me a job. Not a high $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 paying job back in that days, but that I didn't care about that. They gave me a job, and they gave me a home, somewhere to live.
What we want to do is to improve the livelihood of all young men, not just here in Roban, the whole of Australia. The reason for this being is our men are not recognized as men no longer in our community. Even though we put them through Aboriginal culture and classify them as men in our culture, in society, they're still kids. In society, they still know nothing. In society, they're not the breadwinner. So when we sit down and talk about who our people, what our future is for our people, it's education. As much education as we can put into our young generation coming up. Yes, numeracy literacy is, the main fundamentals of education, but there's education about country. There's education about our culture. There's education about the systems we live in today. Um, we need to understand that for our future, for our kids. Well, again, hopefully this trip will get a better understanding of how we're connected, not only to the people, but to the country.
There is a sense of wellness that one gets each time they go to country. There's a filling up or a refilling up of 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 your wirpa or your wirat. Because country is saying, welcome back. It's always that feeling. You go away for a little while, each time you go, it's like, welcome back. And there's something new to see and there's something new to learn.
I grew up Catholic, and no disrespect to the Catholics, but none of that did any good for me. I went back to the longest living culture there is, known to man. And this law gives me a way of life. It teaches me how to live a good life.
We put our young boys through law. What does it give them if it doesn't give them their food on the table, if it doesn't pay for their mortgages, if it doesn't pay for any of this? Why do we continue to give them that law? That law gives them their identity. Criminal law is one of 5 law practiced in the Pilbara. That law connects all the men and women in those remote communities together for one specific reason. That boy become a man. That's the only reason why we all come together for law business in that sense. There's other stuff we come together, but for that main one, it's about that boy. That boy transitioning to becoming a man. Not one community takes that. It's a whole gathering of communities. So we're talking nearly 29 language groups practicing for this one boy to go through law, to become man. But I think the most important thing out of all of this is respect. It teaches respect to these young boys going through their manhood. It teaches respect on all fronts. Respect your elders, respect your family, respect your law, respect your culture. Most importantly, respect Mother Earth. Nanga, Mura, this one. Our law is developed around the mother. No one boy can go through the law without that mother, where he looks up and he sees family members from all over country. Out of those 29 language groups, people he's never seen before, people he's will never see before, have come to see him become man. That is the ultimate respect is given to any young man in game. Once he sees that, the spirit that connects him to country, that connects him to that culture, is through the roof. When they see an elder that has full control over his law and culture in his country, is here witnessing you going through law. That is the utmost respect you can get anywhere. Everywhere they go, at bush, in town, in the cities, on an airplane, on a train, doesn't matter. That respect will stay with that young fella forever, wherever he goes. His idea is that by showing respect, you gain respect.
What are we doing here today, or what we've been doing over the last couple of days is talking about how culture and how the law in particular makes young men into good community leaders and future leaders. You know, the thing about building young men and good leaders is from the community point of view, and you know, the mothers and the sisters and the brothers, the fathers, the manis, the mabajis, and all that mob all have a hand in building, I think, strong leaders or strong community members, or strong, that one day then take over and be, do what I do.
Getting the Jina right means you have to participate and practice. So culture requires practice. Go in, participate, sing, dance, and you don't leave it at the lower ground, so to speak. What the Lord teaches you is an abiding respect for all your people, because all your people in this generation, like all the mob before them and them, they was doing the same thing.
You know, when you go to some place that, you know, others have stood and walked in the same Jina, you know, going on along like that. When we do the law, the men, whether it's the men's business or it's the women's business, we all have a starting point and an end, and you can't, like I said, you can't go past the starting point and then go to the end and then try and come back to the middle. You have to go at the starting point. There are stories along that cycle that is all interlinked to all of these places, and like I said, for us to go from point A to point B, we not only the stories, we know the stories about point A, we know the stories about point B, but there are songs and stories and joeys that you need to sing, and they need to be interconnected to each other on that journey till you get to that next site, and then the next site, from the next site, and you go to the next site. The same. It's almost like going from page 1, then you go to page 1A, B, C, D, E, F, G, page 2, and it's the same. So it's like that. It's understanding all of the other little sections or subsections that make up the big story of the next site.
To follow the Jina means to learn the song language. And when that song language and you're in it, you're singing about a particular place and it's making sense to you. I am one with this belongs to me, I belong to it. That's proper culture. If families aren't practicing language, we will always struggle to understand what this means and what am I singing about. So we have to teach our little ones from when they're here, like Sydney. Sydney's around language, and that's really important. He'll get a different kind of teaching when he's with his uncles or his grandfathers or his fathers. He'll get a different kind of teaching when he's with his grandmothers, sisters, aunties, no matter what ages they are. When he gets to this part, he knows who's going to be there for him. And then when he starts to learn the song language, we gotta learn from grandfathers. And that's people like Peter. Learning the song language as part of the Bundut song cycle, which belongs to the Injibandi woman. When I'm an older lady and I'm dancing the Bundut, I want to know that I'm dancing to the right song. I want to know, and I want to be sure that the Bundut cycle continues the same way when my grandmothers walked there and danced. You don't become a leader for your taking. Others have to give it to you. Things are granted to you by your peers. By your peers, that's the proper cultural way.
You know, I quite often, you know, use the analogy about when you go to museums and you walk along in museums and you have the big display cabinet, and in the cabinet they have you know, other little dummies or little models of people doing activities that used to occur 3 or 4,000 years ago. I think if we don't teach the young people about the law, but more importantly, if we don't bring them along the journey rather than trying to force them to come along the journey with us, I think it's that point where, again, I think if we try and bring them along and we teach them about this, the display scenario in the museum in 50 or 60 years time probably won't happen. But that's my greatest fear, is that one day, people, like myself, will die and we'll take the knowledge with us.
When you look at human beings just in general, no matter where you go in the world, anything we want to remember, we go over and over and over and over and over. And the only way we can do that is to sing it. Singing helps us remember. There's an old saying an old fellow said to me once in country, in language, was, know your song, know your country. By doing that, not only do I know where I am on country, but I know where other people are on country when they sing it. Ni ni dodi na mai na wada weru na babala guru babala guru. Ni ni dodi na mai na wada weru na babala guru babala guru. Ni ni dodi na mai na wada weru na babala guru babala guru.
Jurang kan dia labane wanga jani ko ganjano. Mirang awari kana yo dan wanga. Kanjan ngora labane nyambali yulawanai yunga nyen gombang ngora nyara bane nyambali. Miralo wanjare miralo ngawra kana yo dan wanga. Ngora makora. Ngora wanga makora.